A streaming stick shouldn't demand attention. It should disappear the moment the opening credits roll. On paper, Fire TV Stick 4K and 4K Max look like twins. Both handle 4K HDR, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos, but living with them tells a different story. The Max breathes easier when the app list grows and the home network gets crowded. The 4K keeps costs down while delivering the picture and sound formats that count. If the plan is to set it and forget it for a few years, that extra headroom on the Max isn't fluff, it's comfort. Performance. The 4K Max runs a higher clocked quad-core Cortex-A55 class CPU around 2.0 GHz, while the 4K 2nd Gen sits closer to 1.7 GHz, and both carry 2 GB RAM. That sounds small, but UI responsiveness is where the Max pulls away. Faster home screen loads, quicker app launches, less hesitation hopping between Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube. Animations feel tighter, search results populate faster, and the stick recovers quicker when background updates kick off. If the household flips profiles, loads multiple services, or hates microstutters, the Max's extra headroom shows up in daily use. Storage. This is the practical fork in the road. 16 GB on the 4K Max versus 8 GB on the 4K. 8 gigs gets eaten fast by the OS, app caches, and a baseline set of streamers. 6 months in, 8 GB can force app triage, delete one to install another. Doubling to 16 GB doesn't just mean more apps, it means fewer interruptions, fewer cleanup prompts, and space for odds and ends like a VPN client, a cloud gaming app, kids apps, music services, and a few niche streamers. If frustration avoidance is an objective, this is the single biggest quality of life upgrade. Wi-Fi and networking. The 4K Max adds Wi-Fi 6E, which opens the 6 GHz band for cleaner air if the router supports it. In dense apartments, multi-device homes, or mesh setups with 6E, this can trim latency and reduce peak hour congestion. The 4K supports Wi-Fi 6 on 2.4 GHz, which is already strong and plenty for 4K streams. If the router is non-6E and likely to remain that way, the networking gap narrows. If a new 6E or 7 router is on the horizon, the Max earns future credit. Both support an optional Ethernet adapter capped at 100 Mbps, which is still more than enough for streaming bit rates. Video and HDR formats. No daylight here in playback formats. Both handle 4K up to 60 FPS and support Dolby Vision, HDR10+, HDR10, and HLG. With a compatible TV, the visual output is effectively the same across the big apps. If someone says the Max looks better, they're probably noticing UI fluidity rather than actual video decode quality. Choose based on performance and features, not picture formats. Audio. Both sticks pass Dolby Atmos when the app and equipment support it, alongside Dolby Digital and Dolby Digital Plus. For a soundbar or AVR that can decode Atmos, the movie night impact is identical. The Max may list a few extra pass-through capabilities on paper, but in normal streaming apps, the experience matches the 4K. Interface and features. Both run Fire TV OS with Alexa voice remote and the same app catalog, but the Max gets ambient experience, which turns the idle TV into a useful screen with artwork, widgets, and smart home glanceability. Think weather, calendar, and photos while the TV would otherwise be a black mirror. If that concept resonates, it's a meaningful perk. If the TV is always off when nothing's playing, it's not a deciding factor. Real-world speed. This is where the Max makes its case without spec sheets. It gets back to the home screen faster, resumes paused apps with fewer reloads, and cuts little delays that add friction, especially after weeks of use when caches bloat and background updates stack up. The 4K stays competent for straight-ahead viewing on a lighter app diet. Heavy users or families who surf across services will feel the Max's polish. Gaming and cloud services. Neither stick is a console, but casual games and cloud streaming clients benefit from the Max's faster CPU and stronger wireless stack. It's the difference between acceptable and pleasantly responsive, particularly for controller input lag and occasional texture stalls. If cloud gaming is even a once-in-a-while activity, the Max is the safer bet. Power, ports, and setup. Setup is the same simple routine, and both use micro USB for power. If an Ethernet dongle is on the list, both support the optional adapter, and neither will exceed 100 Mbps on that path. Still plenty for streaming. There's no USB-C, no onboard Ethernet, and no micro SD. Translation: plan for cloud and streaming use, not local media hoarding. That's the design intent here. Remote and voice control. Both include Alexa Voice Remote with app shortcuts, IR for TV power and volume, and accurate voice search. If backlit keys, programmable shortcuts, or a remote finder are must-haves, the optional Remote Pro works with either stick. The Max doesn't win on remote alone. It wins on the box it controls. App ecosystem and updates. Fire TV OS has all the majors: Netflix, Prime Video, YouTube, Disney+, Max, Apple TV+, the sports platforms, and the niche services that round out a home's tastes. Over time, apps get bigger and background services expand. The Max's 16 GB and faster CPU cope better with that slow creep. The 4K will get the same key OS updates for a healthy window, but the Max simply ages more gracefully. Power users and sideloaders. For those who sideload emulators, utilities, or alternate stores, the combination of higher CPU clocks and 16 GB makes life easier. More room for APKs, less juggling, and quicker launches. If that's part of the plan, start with the Max. If the stick will only run the big streaming apps and nothing else, the regular 4K holds its own. Picture calibration and formats in practice. If a TV supports Dolby Vision, both sticks will default to it for compatible content, and tone mapping behavior is handled by the TV. On HDR10+ sets, both negotiate dynamic metadata properly with supported apps. For SDR libraries, each stick offers color space controls and match content options to reduce frame rate judder and avoid crushed blacks. In other words, the viewing chain doesn't change across models. The Max doesn't improve color or contrast. It improves how quickly viewers get to the content. Network realities and buffering. Most 4K streams sit well below 30 Mbps sustained, with peaks higher depending on the service. That means either stick is fine on a solid 5 GHz connection. The 6 GHz lane on the Max becomes valuable when 5 GHz is saturated by neighbors or many devices. It's not about raw speed, it's about consistency when the house is busy. If evening buffering happens now, the Max's Wi-Fi 6E support plus a modern router can be the quiet fix. Heat, throttling, and longevity. Both sticks are designed to run warm behind a TV, and neither is known for thermal throttling in normal use. Where the Max helps over time is resource margin. Less time near the ceiling means less stutter as the software footprint grows. Think of it as buying spare capacity, so today's snappy experience still feels snappy next year. Privacy and ads. Fire TV OS includes sponsored rows and recommendations. Both sticks handle this the same way, and both allow toggles to limit personalized ads and data collection in settings. If the goal is a quieter home screen, expect similar behavior on both, with small perceived differences tied to the Max's faster UI rendering rather than ad load itself. Accessibility and multi-user life. Both support profiles, voice search that handles natural language well, caption settings, and screen readers. In households with kids or elders, the Max's speed makes profile switching and parental control prompts feel less intrusive. It's a small but real quality of life edge when everyone's sharing a single input. Price and value. Sales swing the math. If the price gap is small, the Max is the smarter buy for speed, storage, and Wi-Fi 6E. If the Max is significantly higher and the needs are basic, 1 or 2 top apps, a mid-tier router, no sideloading, the 4K 2nd Gen is the right kind of boring. Reliable, simple, and good enough for nightly streaming without fuss. Who should buy the 4K Max? Pick the Max for a main TV, a long-term setup, a busy network, or a long app roster. It's the choice for anyone who hates friction, likes ambient experience, or plans to keep this stick for years, and doesn't want to manage storage or fight micro stutters after updates. It feels like breathing room, not just bragging rights. Who should buy the Fire TV Stick 4K? Choose the standard 4K for a secondary TV, guest room, or budget-conscious setup where the app list is modest and the router is staying put. It delivers the same picture and audio formats with less cost and almost none of the day-to-day penalties if the usage pattern is straightforward. Bottom line, if this is the household's primary streamer or a buy-once-use-for-years decision, get the Fire TV Stick 4K Max and let the extra speed, storage, and Wi-Fi 6E quietly eliminate small annoyances. If this is a practical pick for a simpler setup, the Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen hits the essentials and stays out of the way. Here's what matters. Both do 4K HDR with the same picture and sound. Only one keeps feeling fast after a dozen apps and a year of updates. That's the Max.